to the full review of the LG Q6, the poor man's bezel-less smartphone. Lately, the smartphone in the budget segment has become stagnant with similar design and almost similar specifications. Bezel-less trend has already taken over the mobile industry. The problem is we won't be able to see a reputed company bring the most wanted feature from their flagships to their budget devices, and LG gets a thumbs up for that. But do we really get the bang for buck? Well, let's find out. First, let's talk about the build quality for a second. Let me clarify it in the beginning itself that the back of the phone is just plastic and they are a fingerprint magnet for sure, and they get scratched pretty easily too. By the way, they don't look or feel cheap at all. I always liked plastic back, which gives us the utmost grip, and they are pretty durable too. But it's 2017 and there must be a metal body for the premium feel in hand for the price you are paying, and hence they managed to make the chassis out of 7000 series aluminum, and it melts through the sides of the phone, which brings that premium feel somewhat. And they have not tapered the edges, hence makes it look a little thick. But we get a phone which is easy to hold, and I promise the phone won't slide out of your hands. The phone is really lightweight, and the only weight that you'll feel is because of the aluminum chassis. Because the phone only has a 3000 mAh battery sealed in, and we'll talk about this in the battery section though. LG gave us the dual SIM and a dedicated microSD card slot expandable up to 2 TB, both situated on the left side, which is rare in the budget segment, and you have a headphone jack too, and that too on the bottom of the phone, the best place for a headphone jack. And it has a usual micro USB port at the bottom, but I have something to complain: the power button. The power button on this unit is wobbly, but the volume buttons are perfect. Maybe it's only with my unit. I wanted this unit to be replaced, but it's a hassle, so I'm using software features instead to wake and lock the screens. And finally, on the back sits the speaker, which is really loud, but it sounds tinny. With the sound it produces, believe me, you are never going to miss a single call for sure. It's that good. It doesn't have an LED notification light. Yeah, it's a bummer for sure, cause even a cheaper Redmi 3S Prime had it. So that's a deal breaker for me. And speaking of the front, it has a 5.5-inch Full HD IPS LCD display with in-cell touch technology, and that full vision display or almost bezel-less display is the main attraction. And that's the only reason you or anyone else would buy this phone. With that 18:9 aspect ratio, the phone is a little taller, which brings it to 2160 by 1080 resolution. Everything feels normal like you would generally feel when using a 5.5-inch display. But the difference is, it's pretty easy to handle in a compact form factor. The display is sharp, vibrant, and viewing angles are better than most budget smartphones I use because, well, it's from a reputed company and the media consuming experience should be good. The display gets really bright and the outdoor visibility should never be a problem. Being an LCD panel, the deep black it produces is really appreciable, and the saturation is amazing, and the curved corners gives this phone a unique look overall. It's not completely bezel-less, but the reduced size of the top and the bottom chins gives the bezel-less look, which is not a bad thing at all. So in the display section, this phone is a complete win. But does the software completely take the advantage of the aspect ratio? The question leads us to the next section, the software. LG has really improved in the software department because I used the LG L9, which was a great phone, and the only compliment I had was the software. And I can now say this is way better than previous iterations. And with Android Nougat, the software feels sleek with Nougat style notification panel and quick toggles, and thanks to that dual window mode from Nougat, which supports a lot more apps than LG Skin used to before. The dual window mode takes advantage of that display because the 2:1 aspect ratio divides the screen into two equal parts, so you have two exactly square windows on top and bottom. Even if an app doesn't support that aspect ratio, you have an option to adjust it. But not all apps work. For example, YouTube doesn't support 18:9 aspect ratio, due to which we see the letter boxes. Apart from that, there are a lot of software features to talk about, like the face recognition, which works exceptionally well in daylight conditions and in moderate lighting conditions too. not good in low lighting conditions. It's not the easiest unlocking method and not the secure one too. It works 75 to 80% of the times, and if it doesn't, I have to rely on a PIN or a password, which is pain in the butt. I feel they should have given the option of the fingerprint, but well, this is what we get. You can add as many as 5 on-screen buttons for your convenience, and the most used is the notification pull down, which comes really handy. The user interface feels really smooth, and I haven't gone to Nova Launcher yet because it works fine and all of the features are baked into the settings for you to find them later down the road. So, having these many features and customizations, how will the performance be? Well, the phone is basically a Redmi 3S Prime that I used earlier but with a slightly upgraded processor, the Snapdragon 435. Anyway, the performance is fine and opening and closing of apps and gameplays are great while pushing better content on the full HD display. A RAM management issue was there earlier, but a software update fixed it, which is surprising, especially from LG. Day-to-day tasks will work fine and you can definitely do heavy gaming on this phone, and it doesn't throttle a lot, but the only problem is the processor is most probably situated near the volume rockers, which makes it feel uncomfortable after a few minutes of gaming. It's not a big issue, it's not too hot, but you can feel it because the sides are aluminum. Even simple tasks like opening Facebook and syncing data brings up a little heat, which is noticeable. For your information, it's underpowered for sure, but it's capable of doing most of the tasks. It would have been nice to see a Snapdragon 625 for that price tag. Coming to the camera, the color reproduction is something we will have to appreciate. The colors are really vibrant and I feel they are a little bit underexposed, but it processes the image to bring in a little bit of saturation. Mostly the pictures look natural, the dynamic range is really appreciable and the shadows are captured very well, and using HDR+, you can get a better exposed shot with improved dynamic range. But the only problem even in high to moderate lighting conditions is that it has noise no matter how much light you have. But the details it has is the only reason you like this camera, and low light shots are decent. Front facing camera is a 100-degree wide angle which helps you get in a lot more background into the picture, and it also shines in bright lighting conditions as well. Due to the aperture, which is 2.2, it doesn't let in a lot of light, which will be a problem in low lighting conditions with both front and rear cameras. And the video quality is good, and the dynamic range is the only thing I like the most about this camera. Stabilization and autofocus are the biggest drawbacks, but yeah, you shouldn't expect much for this price. They are not the best, and they are not the worst either. They get the job done. Don't expect any miracles from this camera. And finally, the battery, which is basically the most important aspect. And this has a 3000 mAh battery, which never lasted me a complete day. With a provided charger, it charges in around 2 hours, and using 5 volts 2 amps charger, it charges in around 1.5 hours or so, which is really handy, or maybe my battery is faulty. I use it just to send a few messages on WhatsApp, brightness at 30% and location turned on, and always syncing data. The battery optimization has never been good with LG, and so this experiences the same problem. I barely get 4 hours of screen on time. It's like consuming media is the main reason you would buy this phone, and you won't be able to use it because you don't want to drain that battery. They should have at least provided an open back panel, or should have put a higher capacity battery. I wouldn't mind the phone to be a little bit thicker, by the way. And finally, a few small things worth knowing. The phone has OTG support. The earpiece call quality is great. To be precise, perfect. The in-ear headphones is not worth talking about. So now to the conclusion. If you're planning to buy this phone, buy this only to experience that display, which is the main attraction, with the deep blacks an LCD can produce and the color reproduction and viewing angles it can give. But if you're buying this phone for the camera, performance or battery life, this isn't the one for you. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.